Well, I totally screwed up the webinar today by not actually making the correct link. I don't know what I did wrong. I'm not going to waste any more time worrying about it. What I'm actually going to do is clean up this webinar a little bit. I really was distracted throughout the entire thing and forgot to make a lot of the points, and my videos weren't working. Like, this whole thing was a giant disaster. I'm glad it was free, because otherwise I would be refunding everyone their money. That said, I think there's some great content in it, but it's fun to watch, actually. It's 7-Eleven right now. I just went on a nice couple-hour walk, had some dinner. I'm going to sit here and edit this video up. I normally take about 2 hours to make about a 10-minute video. I'm not going to let myself overthink this, and we're just going to get it out the door tonight. Holy shit. This thing, that's what I was worried about. I've just got texts from people saying that it kicked them off because it's full at 100. Alrighty, well, I'm just gonna turn my email off and guess we'll do this. That is really, really friggin' annoying. Stop email. All right, I am going to just get started, I guess. That is so disappointing. All right. Well, actually, it's a good place to start, to be perfectly honest. Hold on, let me see if I can. All right, we're just gonna start right here. It's actually a really interesting place to start because that is super duper annoying. I literally have always had this pro account with Zoom, and I went through and upgraded it to 10,000 with 100 presenters, and obviously I screwed that up even though I was on with their customer service. But that's actually an interesting place to start because we're obviously all going through a lot of frustrating stuff right here, and a place to start that I was going to add in right here is honestly like meditation. Yes, everyone, I'll restart and send it. Don't worry. Yeah, I can't restart and resend the link. YouTube Live next time. Damn good idea. Didn't think of that. All right. But what I was about to say is honestly, it's a good place to start. Obviously, we're all going through some super interesting, frustrating, challenging, stressful stuff. And like when I first sat down and saw that, like I just want to explode. But part of what I've been working on personally so much is meditation. And honestly, like with Sam Harris, like I've just got that adrenaline that just ran through me. And all I'm sitting here doing, even while I've been talking, is just trying to calm that inner voice. And I'm telling you, like I'm pissed off, but I'm not dying here. I'm really annoyed. But at the end of the day, I'm more frustrated because I'm sure everyone's like, damn it, I logged on and it didn't work, which is just disappointing. My phone is blowing up. I'm just going to turn it over. My emails are, I'm sure, blowing up. I'm just going to turn it over. Nothing you can do about it. And you know, it's interesting because on the new decade card, right there at the bottom of it, which you may or may come into zone or not, right there at the bottom, you must learn to focus on your inner conversation on things that you can, damn it, it's hard to read this thing backwards on the monitor. I'm going to read it this way. You must learn to focus your inner conversation on things you can influence. Ask yourself, can I do anything about this? If the answer is no, move on. Can't do anything about it. I screwed up. I'm sure somehow, some way, Zoom told me that I had it right. I screwed it up. Can't do anything about it. And honestly, I was the biggest lunatic ever when playing golf. And as a person, I'm doing so much better now with it, and like nothing I can do about it. I just hit it OB 4 times off the first tee. I can either walk in or I can try to play the next 36 holes really good and still make the cut. So we're going to try to make the cut. Yes, I'm definitely going to do that. I promise you, I will be emailing this thing out. The whole point of that little sidebar, actually, this is going to be fun. I'm going to just dub in and edit in a few little things here. The point of that was I was working with a player this summer who just couldn't get it through his head to just let things go. And I really put that on that card to just say, if there's nothing you can do about something, if the answer is no, is there anything I can do to change this? You need to just move on. And what the backside of that new decade card is the things that I've learned over the first 4 or 5 years of teaching decade. I used to just have a bunch of mental tips and tidbits on the back, and now these are the most important things that I personally have found in teaching decade. And it's really funny that the most important thing that I personally have found in teaching decade is there's nothing you can do anything about it. I hit a bad shot. I did this. I did that. That answer is no. You can't do anything about it. Your only choice is to move on. And to be perfectly honest, I really did a pretty bad job of that throughout this entire video. I just couldn't let it go, and it really was in the back of my mind the entire time. So this is actually going to be a great way for me to clean up this video a little bit, and then also add in a few of the things that a lot of notes and stuff that I meant to make and that I just missed. So let's get back at it. You know, a lot of people in here that don't really understand or don't know where decades started from. And this is me back in 2014. I took all of the strokes gained statistics and data, and I combined them with shot pattern data to, in essence, if I know what a shot pattern looks like and I know how many strokes it takes to hole out from any inch around a golf course, bam, I can pretty easily figure out what my optimal target should be, rather than the mystery that course management has always been in the back. Oh, thank you. You can't see the slides. There actually wasn't a slide yet, but yes, I need to share the screen. See? Frustrated. Stop making double bogeys. Thank you for that word of wisdom. I'll see if I can pull the chat back up right now. Where'd the chat go? There we go. Chat. Bam. Awesome. Thank you for that. That would have been a really, that would have been an unrecoverable double bogey if I hadn't done that. So thank you, LA. It's amazing how when something happens you weren't expected to, how much it can fluster you. And even when you're used to doing something, it can screw you up so much. All right. 2014, I created Decade. I created it for my own game only because of injury. Did I have this junior golfer from my home course, Will Zalatoris, who I went caddied for when he won the Texas Salmon. To be perfectly honest, the guy's a great golfer. He's obviously out on the Corn Ferry Tour now. He's one of the best players in the world. And he just really hadn't had the results when he was a younger player. And I always wondered why. I had no idea. And once I went out there and caddied for him, basically I realized the guy just played golf way too aggressive because he's such a good ball striker. And as a result, he really never had the results that he probably should have as a junior golfer. When I caddied for him at the Texas Salmon, the U.S. Juniors, the SMU coach, Jason Enlow is a good friend of mine, Alan Bratton, the Oklahoma State head coach, who I've known since we were kids. They both told me, they're like, I don't know what you're telling him, man, but it looks like it's something really interesting. And then conveniently, I caddied for Will at the U.S. Amateur that summer, and we got beat in the round of 16 by Zach Olson, and the Oklahoma State assistant coach was caddying, and so he got to kind of see a little bit more up close of what we were doing. And both Jason Enlow and Alan Bratton were kind of the ones that said, man, if you can figure out how to teach this indoors, you've really got something, because it's just quantifying. Again, this is where I'll try not to be too offensive to the younger players, and this isn't all orchestrated towards juniors or elite players. This really is, you'll see by the end of this, this is designed for everyone. And Jason Enlow said to me, he's like, Bryson, he just plays way too aggressive. It's really interesting, but if you can create this in an indoor, seminar, you've got something to teach to these players. And the reason it had to be done indoors was because the NCAA required that all, you have 2 paid coaches, and from there, anything else, it has to be done indoors. So that way you're considered a mental coach, a mindset coach, which is exactly what the NCAA told me I would be. Well, once Bryson sat through my seminar, as you can see, this is just a private Facebook message he sent me on March 30th, 2015. He sent this to me. He attended the seminar at SMU in February of 2015. This is 2 months, 3 months before he's going to win the NCAA championships even. Obviously, he goes on to win the NCAAs, goes on to win the U.S. Amateur, and it's just kind of funny because this is 2015, and Bryson, it's just hilarious. He signed this thing. This is actually where he won the U.S. Amateur, so at this point, he's just the NCAA champion. But this right here is his signature, and he actually signed this thing left-handed and backwards, to where if you are look at it in a mirror, it actually is his signature, perfect, straightforward. I have no idea the point of that, but it's a pretty damn impressive thing to watch. Well, so if this was 2014 when I caddied for Will, 2015 was the obviously the next summer's U.S. Amateur. The players I had worked with wasn't very many at that time, but Jordan Ebrugge, he had just finished 7th in the British Open as an amateur. Obviously, Will, Kyle Jones, who wound up winning on the Korn Ferry Tour, played on the PGA Tour. Austin Smotherman was a graduate of last year's Latin American Tour. Sean Walsh won the North-South Amateur the week after he attended my seminar. And Noah Goodwin was the runner-up in the U.S. Junior and then won it the following year. This is Cameron Champ when he was at Texas A&M sitting through my seminar. Obviously, the whole point of this is just to recognize this thing has more positive results than you can possibly imagine. Let's get to it. If I can actually get this thing to work now. There we go. So I really threw out 2 weeks ago when I kind of knew with my partner in crime, Lou Stagner, that I'd mentioned just a second ago. He's a great guy to follow also on Twitter. Lou, Loustagner. Lou Stagner is kind of he's the brains behind it at this point because I am really good with math. I'm not great with huge data manipulation. I graduated from college in 1996, and I have Lou helping me with PGA Tour players because he's really good at manipulating the ShotLink database. And if you follow him on Twitter, some of the stuff that he posts is just amazing with new strokes gain interactive charts and everything. So once the virus and everything was pretty obvious that it was going to be hitting the fan, I said, you know what, I'll throw some free seminars on. I mean, obviously I still need to make a living and everything. I can't give it all away, but I'll definitely try to help as many people as I can have something to do. And then I saw this guy posted on Twitter, talking about what are the ways you're going to maintain your golf game, while we're stuck indoors, because I really do think that we're going to be stuck indoors for quite a while. And I thought, that's a great direction to go with the first seminar. So we're going to talk about a little bit how to practice indoors, how to practice putting indoors, but I'm going to intertwine that with actual advice for if we can get out on the course, hopefully eventually, or out on the range. I'm going to explain a few things that I think get kind of lost in translation that I teach sometimes. So that's what we're going to focus on here today. If you've seen me talk before, you know that I always start with winning requires luck. Stop trying to make birdies and stop trying to make putts. And I start with this because it's Spieth in 2015 in the first round at the U.S. Junior, at the Masters, when he hit it to the right of number 7. He's literally 7 holes into the golf tournament that he's going to go on to win. And this right here, he literally had a perfect hallway. I actually asked him at the we were hanging banners together at his now wife is the director of the First Tee of Dallas. And I was hanging banners with him right after he won the Masters. And I was like, dude, that shot on 7 was just insane. And he was like, it's like I was standing in the middle of the fairway. And this is just all these little small parts of luck that, again, if you've seen me talk before, I say this all the time, but if that ball's right here, that hallway disappears. If that ball's right here, that hallway disappears. And I've tried to limit how much video is in this because my computer's also been acting sketchy, which is probably why I got frustrated and made the earlier mistake. But he said, man, it's like I was standing right in the middle of the fairway. He just took a perfect swing, 7-iron right through the gap, hit it up there to 10 feet. Like, that's just insane. And so we've got all this winning requires luck. But so much of this is also recognizing these young players on the PGA Tour, guys like like Jordan, because he works with Cameron McCormick, who does a great job of teaching course management. He's a really good instructor, and he really does a good job of getting players out on the course a lot. Obviously, he's an instructor at a high-end country club where you can get out on the course a bunch. But getting out and playing a ton of golf, especially with good players that have played professional golf and taught professional players, it's really important. And that's what Decade kind of lifts the curtain of, is allowing you to see inside of a playing lesson with, the best players in the world and see how it is that they attack the game. But the second one's the one I'm going to start with. And the reason I'm going to start with it is stop trying to make birdies. And I say that half jokingly, but not joking at all, as you'll see in a second. I keep on getting this flashing thing over here on the other screen. It keeps on making me think that something else is screwing up. Namaste. Can't control it. Still looks like it's recording. We'll just assume it is. There are times when you're trying to make birdies, and it's on drivable par 4s with your tee shot and on reachable par 5s with your second shot. I want you to, people think that I'm talking about just playing super conservative golf. That's not it at all. I am trying to get you to play as aggressive as physically possible, for sure, off the tee. I want you hitting driver everywhere. And the reason I bring this specifically up is to let you know that the club golfer, the junior golfer, there's a lot of guys like, oh, I already know all this stuff. Well, if you know it, then why didn't the PGA Tour players know it? These are the best players in the world. No offense to everyone that thinks they've already got it figured out. This is in 2015. The reason I chose this year is because I caddied for Will in the PGA Tour event at Riviera this summer, or that year. And this is number 10, the drivable par 4. And you can see over here in the history of the scoring averages in 2015, it played with, you know, in the last 11 years, the worst scoring average ever. Well, also 72.61. It was one of the hardest events. The greens were super firm that year. So that makes sense. But what I want you to look at here is this right here. How many balls are short of this bunker? People used to always say that if the pin's in the back, you lay it up, excuse me, and if the pin's up front, you go for it. And I first started running this math and teaching this aggressive off the tee. And again, I want to be very clear. A guy like Mark Brody, like all this is based, I've got his book right here. You can see the pages of literally, I have torn this thing apart. If it weren't for the fact that Marcus told me that he doesn't get any royalties, I'd at least go give him 20 more bucks and buy a new copy. But understanding this math and understanding these stats is how I was able to do this with so many young players, and how so many young players on the PGA Tour are doing this. You know, again, whether it's through me personally, a guy like Colin Morikawa sat through my seminar, or other guys like Matthew Wolff and Victor Hovland who went to Oklahoma State where I did my seminars before getting banned by the NCAA. Well, just finish that story. I got banned by the NCAA because they considered me a third paid coach, unfortunately. So they ejected me. They told me that I can't give my live seminar anymore, which is why I created the Decade app. Full circle back to this, because the reason I've got this up here is a lot of instructors, a lot of, you know, even college coaches, some people get mad at me saying, you know, why are you trying to take credit for everybody's good play? And I'm like, I'm not. I'm selling a product here. This is what's called marketing. But if I piss them off with that, hold on. I've posted this video a few years ago, and I now know for a fact that at least half, probably even more than that, of the PGA Tour has watched this exact video on YouTube, because I work with a lot of instructors who point their guys to this as kind of a gateway drug. And so now when you look at, I created that video in 2016, I think it is, and it really started catching on in 17 and 18. And then all of a sudden, look at this, 2019 and 20. It's played with the lowest two scoring averages basically in the history of the hole ever. While the scoring averages remain basically the same for the course, this hole is playing extremely easier. Look at how many shots are right here, and look how many people have laid up in 2020 and 2019. This data, teaching this stuff, has literally changed the way even the PGA Tour plays golf. So don't think that you're just going to magically figure this out, because you might, but these guys didn't, and these gals didn't too. It's the same thing on the LPGA Tour. I unfortunately had to leave this one in here so you wouldn't be able to call BS on me. This is Harold Varner. They wouldn't show his top 3-wood on TV, but I'll at least make you know that this is the actual shot link image of all 4 rounds. You can see all 4 pins. They used to not put the pins in, but you can obviously tell that's not one round worth of events. Look at how many fewer people are laying up in the last 2 years, and look at what's happening to the scoring average. I want you as aggressive as possible off the tee. This is not about, you know, finding, I'll just hit it in the fairway, knock it on the green. It's not how it works. As aggressive as you can within reason off the tee. Watch this video, and obviously I'm going to have to send out 700 emails after this. I'll include a link to this video and links to other stuff in a follow-up video, mainly because I am an idiot apparently. So, super aggressive off the tee. But the key is, once you're out of position, that's when we click into stop trying to make birdies. This is the key to aggressive off the tee. I want you hitting driver off the tee, just like this player did a couple years ago. I've covered his name to protect the innocent. But once he got it out of position long, you're done. This green literally right here is 8 yards deep. It is not good. It is the tightest, tiniest little flop shot to try to hit it over this bunker and keep it out of this bunker. This guy got lucky, honestly, that he put it in this bunker, because then it's an easier bunker shot to just dump it onto the green. But you can still see he almost hit the bunker shot over. I can't tell you how many doubles and triples I see every year from guys just going back and forth from these bunkers. What you need to be able to do is have the patience to do what Aaron Wise did. And Aaron hit it long this year, and this is exactly what I've been telling my players to do for a couple years. If you get it out of position, give up. Put it onto the green anywhere, two-putt it, and you're not going to lose that much. The average score on the hole still is 3.8 this year, 888. Par doesn't lose much. Just don't make double or triple or even bogey. There's just no reason to, because I can assure you, you're not making birdie. Once you get out of position on either a drivable par 4 or a reachable par 5, basically give up. Yes, you're correct, Alan. Blue is par, black is bogey, and red is birdie. Yes, you are correct. I'm watching a little bit out here. So decade cards, we'll get to that. That's normally something I don't give out, but I might just because I screwed this up so much. So now what we're going to do is move forward and say scoring. Like obviously the whole goal, if you've signed up in order to shoot, I'm wondering if all of a sudden, sorry, another thing just popped up. No, I did not screw that up. I did. It's from the upgrade. So the next thing that you need to know is in order for your scoring average to drop, this is what our decade, what our key looks like. And there's hundreds of statistics. I've just obviously taken a screenshot, a snippet of the top ones. But when you play a round and enter your scores in the decade app, if you shoot 70, 73, all of your data from the 70 will go into this bucket. All of your data from the 73 will go into this bucket because we're trying to create generic profiles of what a person who averages 70.1 looks like, what a person who averages 72.98 looks like. And then you, obviously your stats stay together, and then we compare them against the generic profiles. So let's pretend you were a person with a 70.1 scoring average, but you averaged 3.2 on the par threes. I would tell you, I would give you a red X in your page, just so that way you know that you are underperforming against your peer group in this bucket. It basically tells you this is where you need to be focusing your efforts on to get to playing better golf. But what we do with this is now look at this just focused in on the 70s. And as your scoring average drops from 81.79 to 78.82, as it drops basically 3 shots, so as you are going from the right to the left, as your scoring average drops 3 shots, your birdies per round increases from 1.08 to 1.44. So you're only making 0.36 birdies more per round while averaging 2.97 shots less. Well, that means that 88%, because I guarantee these people aren't making very many eagles, that's a total non-factor. 88% of your improvement in score is from bogey and higher avoidance. Now, honestly, really let that set in. This game is not about making more birdies, and it's just hilarious because when you look back at, I've had that slide in since 2015 saying stop trying to make birdies, and when you actually look at this, making more birdies does not, I mean, obviously it accomplishes something if you make a ton, but as your scoring average just morphs through the 70s, the vast majority of your improvement is going to be from bogey and higher avoidance, not making more birdies. And you really have to just trust that as your shot pattern, as your improvement, as your ball striking improvement gets better, your shot pattern gets tighter, you're just going to accidentally have more birdie looks and accidentally make more birdies. It really is not intentional. I mean, again, they're just all kind of luck. Otherwise, you would do it on every single hole. So then when you look at it all the way through the 70s, as your scoring average drops all the way through the 70s, basically 60 or 70% of it, 80% of it is from bogey avoidance. If you are a 95 shooter, when I compare you with a 79 shooter, a player who is 16 shots better than you, that guy only makes 1 birdie more than you per round, which I find insane because everybody talks about, I don't really care what I shoot. I just want to remember one hero shot. Guess what? You're not going to hit that hero shot basically ever. And even if you do hit the hero shot, you're probably going to miss the putt. And I know that's kind of harsh, but it's just the reality. You aren't going to go out and intentionally make many birdies, but as your scoring average improves 16 shots from 95 to 79, only 1 of those is from an increase in birdies, which I just find mind-boggling. But if you think about it, it makes sense because our shot patterns are massive. This is Aaron Wise in December of 2018, I think it was. At this time, he's the reigning rookie of the year. He's won on the PGA Tour, and I had him hit 27 irons, normalized to no wind. Now, what I will say is the wind was off the left about 20 miles an hour. So I told him, just try to hit it this way at that target, and I don't even really care where the ball goes because we're going to normalize that out. But at the end of the day, Aaron Wise, NCAA champion, PGA Tour reigning rookie of the year at this point. 7 iron, 16 yards left, 13 yards right. I'm going to kick this one out because I'm assuming this was a really bad at not being able to consider the wind being a non-factor. His shot pattern is 30 yards wide with a 7 iron that he told me would go about 187, 188 yards before he hit it. Some went 180, some went 192. This is a shotgun blast. It is not a sniper rifle. But what Aaron Wise does do well, and what I had planned on taking a lot of my time here to talk about, is practicing indoors. Aaron Wise did a great job of centering his shot pattern over his target, which is huge, because when I give you a decade target, or let's just say you're going to go out and you're going to play, let's pretend that during the coronavirus, there's no pins in the greens at your course. You're going to aim at the middle of the green then. You've got to pick a very small target, whatever that is. You're not just hitting it that way. I think that's one of the key things that amateurs and juniors do wrong, is they're just hitting it that way as opposed to picking a small, very finite, very meticulous target, just something small to aim at, which in this case, again, was 187 yards right here where we set the TrackMan up on whatever pin it was. He was aiming it right here, and this is what he did. And what I think is actually funny is if you look at it, it's only the only place he didn't hit it. This is one of the best players in the world, and he only got one shot within 15 feet in 20 shots of what we were aiming at. Again, normalized to no wind, off of a flat piece of ground, hitting the same shot over and over in practice. This is one of the best players in the world. This is reality, period. So what I mean by centering it over your shot pattern, because this is probably the hardest thing that I think I teach, really, is just getting people to understand target. People always think of their body lines as aim for some reason in golf. But if you had a guy with a gun, wherever the bullet went, that's where you're aiming. And I don't know why in golf people don't realize that wherever the center of your shot pattern is, that's where you were aiming. I don't care what you thought you were aiming at. This is where the average of your golf shots went. So even here, the average of his shots is, it's probably skewed a little bit to the left, but it's basically right here. He's basically blanketed the flag. So that way, if I said to Aaron, if I were caddying for him, I said, I want you to hit it 5 yards right of that pin, he would be able to do that because he's blanketing the flag. And again, this might seem super trivial. It's not. Even if you think, I know what I'm doing there, I promise you, you don't, because this is the thing that trips up everybody, even tour players. When I was preparing for this, I went into my garage, and the way that I have my little SkyTrack and simulator set up here is I have obviously the net square to the wall. I have my mat perpendicular to it perfectly. I have a ruler down, and if you've ever heard me talk before, I always talk about I'm a railroad track left guy, meaning if I've got my target is here, I want my body lines just parallel left, and parallels the railroad track. Somebody always calls that out. I just want it a certain degree, 2-3 degrees, whatever that number is, left of the target, because I fade every single shot that I hit. And so right here, in theory, for me to center my shot pattern over a target, I would actually have to either point this mat to the left a little bit, or I would have to stand open as a right-handed player with my feet pointing off over to here. The way I practice, and this is the one thing that I really think is crucial for everyone as we probably get locked indoors for some amount of time, is understanding what shot pattern it is they're creating. And so, honestly, it's kind of fun. I had never done this before in practice, but I promise you, I've said this a million times in my seminars. My body lines should be where if I just accidentally, my path should be squared, zeroed out to my body lines, and I'm just trying to hold the face something to the right of that, which should hit a slight little cut. I'm trying to do this y'all's angle, a slight little fade. So if I square the face to path, I'll hit a hot pull. Rarely will I actually double cross a shot. Even this shot right here that's right on the target line, I actually just pulled it a little bit further left, but I still had the face right of path because the ball faded a little bit. And so to me, on this situation, the way I look at this, oh, actually, hold on a second here. I had myself hitting some of these shots. Oh, man. Sorry, apparently I need to start it over here in presenter view. Looks like I should have done at least one. Whatever. This is it from the back end. If you see this light switch, that's actually what the laser beam is just left of the light switch, okay? So I'm training my eyes. I'm, again, a guy like Tiger and Jack Nicklaus where I pick a spot in front of the ball, and even though I move my sky track around each time I hit balls on it, I'll still see where the laser is, the laser dot, and I'll figure out what point in the mat that is, because I want to train my eyes, my body lines, my posture, my ball position, everything. I think that this is super important for us all while we're going to go indoors and hit balls, is to be doing it, not just mindlessly hitting balls to the left. I'm still training my body lines. I'm still training my eyes, my posture, because now this is what my shot pattern looks like. Notice I didn't hit a single shot left of my body lines, which is exactly what I've said a million times before, up to if I get the face too far to the right because I held on to it too much or something happened, that's my big flare. This does not mean I've eliminated the left side of the golf course, though. No matter what, I still have a center to this shot pattern. This would be my target, like I was just talking about with Aaron Wise here. When he said this is his target, this was my technical target, even though my body lines and everything were aimed over here. There's still a center to this shot pattern, okay? And the key, I really want this video to play because it's super play. All right, well, through the magic of my screwing up the webinar link and the fact that it is now 8:47 p.m. and I'm getting super tired, I just am editing in the video that I was trying to get to play. Because the point, what I wanted to really show here is I'm stepping behind, not all the way behind, but I'm stepping behind each shot. Imagine me walking in from behind. This would be what my last 2 steps would be. So here I am, I've got this spot right in front of the ball. My swing key is getting my weight to my heels, and I'm hitting my shot. But what I really want you to watch, not me stopping the golf ball, what I really want you to watch is I'm going to get this ball back on the sky track laser again. And then I'm pretending that I'm behind the ball. This is my last step in, again, as though I were actually behind it. The greatest thing would be to get behind the ball. No chance you're going to do that. So all I really want you to do is take that last step in, because what we're training here is the body weight, the shifting, the ground forces, all that nonsense. Again, I'm sorry, it's 8:48 p.m., but I really am insisting I get this thing out. What I want you to see is there's this trigger, the one main trigger that all great players have. Watch me here as I step in. I'm landing my club face up to that spot on the mat, checking it to the light switch, getting my body, my feet, they're square to that mat, and I'm checking it. And watch right here, this little ta-dum in my knees. You see how that little press? That's how all, great players, that's how I'm pretty good at golf. That's how we all start our golf swing, is that little final press from your right leg, your trail leg, into your lead leg. And so if you're just raking balls over and hitting them mindlessly, you're never training this. I'm trying to narrow my stance. Watch this knee. Bam. I know exactly when it's going to happen. That's the key that most people aren't getting when they're just mindlessly raking balls over and hitting them. All right, let's go back to see what else I got to say next. That is so annoying. We can see that it has a line right there. Not going to play. I may actually wind up just reshooting this entire thing and posting it. So what I want you to look at here now, this is the 16 shots that I hit. And my side, this is the spin Offline is the key one though here. If I have a negative number, that would mean that I hit it left of the center pattern. You can see that the worst one that I hit was 1 yard still right of the target, 3 yards right, all the way up to 22 yards is my furthest one to the right. So my shot pattern in practice off of a piece of grass, a piece of AstroTurf, was 1 yard right. I was clicking you guys might not be able to say, but I was clicking the arrow, but thank you. Well, I'm going to go back and try. The person seems like they know what they're talking about. Clicking. Click play. Where's play? Oh, you might not be able to see. I am clicking on that arrow right now. I don't think you can see it actually. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to scoop in, just zone into offline and carry only. And so you can see that the ones that are left, 1 yard is 174 yards, 5 yards, 171, 3 yards, 172. So my furthest left shots are the ones that I squared the face to the path the most. Those are the long left portion of my shot pattern. The ones that I got the furthest to the right, 21 yards right, 20 yards right, 22 yards right, 170, 168, 167, even this 16 is 168. Those are the ones that I just got the face. So I basically turned my 7-iron into like a 7.5 iron and almost 8-iron. Whereas the other ones, whenever I square the face to path, that means that I squared the face, that I shut the face down more, turning it into like a 6.5 iron, which is why, and it's not that bad, but I'm just trying to illustrate the point. The depth of my shot pattern, the long left, and it doesn't matter. I fade every shot. My pattern still is shifted as a right-handed player, long left to short right. It still has the exact same tilt to it. As you can see in this 45-degree angle, this is the center line. I just drew it straight down the middle of the target line, and every ball is to the right of that target. And where this thing comes in and is important, and the actionable advice from this is, again, I don't want you to the full decade system. I mean, again, that would take, it's a lot to teach. It's definitely not obviously a goal of this, but the full decade system gives you a specific target that is 3 yards right of the pin, 6 yards right of the pin, whatever it is, it gives you an exact target. But for the most part, if you're playing a normal size golf course, normal size greens, how I want you to view this now is, if I'm sitting here and this is the pin, it's up against a lake, I'm trying to, in this situation, because the full elite system gives you an exact target, but it's not far from the middle of the green here. My target is this tree. I have a left side of my shot pattern that even without hitting it directly at the pin, I will still magically hit shots close. But what I'm really going to be avoiding here are too many bogeys. Yes, I'm going to have some shots over here also. This is the right side of my shot pattern. Think of it this way. This is the right side of my shot pattern. This is the left side of my shot pattern. This is the shot that I hit exactly perfect. This is me. Oh, that's so funny. I really did actually try this because I know I tested this one. It must just be, I'm going to go back now that I've thought about it. Screw it. What I want you to see, I did test it this way. What I want you to see here is even as lame as this looks, and actually I was planning on editing this, but all this was feeling a little, this is just my computer, like I say, has been acting sketchy today. So I went and re-loosened up a little bit here. But what I'm trying to do is I'm showing that I'm taking this one step backwards because I want to come into this last step into the ball. I'm now squaring my face. I'm looking at that spot right in front of the ball. I'm not just pulling balls over and mindlessly hitting them. I'm still going through my routine, which this is one thing that when Como and I talked about Tiger some, I think that he got to where he was hitting too many balls in his indoor simulator. Because I asked Como one time, I'm like, what do you guys do all day? He's like, hit balls indoors and play video games? You gotta be kidding me. But I think that makes sense because it's awkward once you've hit so many balls indoors to then go outside onto the golf course and onto the range. And I think that one of the main things that really separates good players from average players is having this perfect sequence, this perfectly timed, launch initiation sequence, if you will, of when you start your swing. I know that if I have this thing so perfectly timed out that when I take this last step back with my right, what I'm trying to say here is if I were coming in from actually behind the ball, my full shot routine, pre-shot routine, I would be stepping into the ball like this. And so what I'm doing here is I'm still doing that last mile, while even though I have my swing keys, and actually my swing keys, you can see right there, is just getting my weight to the back of my heels. That right there is the most important thing. And it's so funny because the ball bounces back almost the same way every time. I've even gotten, unfortunately for me, timed into stopping with my foot now. But I've got this part of it down to it because right here I am training my eyes to be square to that. I'm training my body to be square to the ruler. I'm not just going brain dead. So now if I actually were just out on a golf course, I would be prepared to do the exact same thing. I think that's the key that I really want everyone to take from this. If you're going to be practicing indoors much, whether it's the winter, whether it's coronavirus, whatever it is, just raining, you've really got to focus on this pre-shot routine even while indoors and practicing, okay? So I've shown you, for me, how I think of centering my shot pattern over a target. And now I'm going to show you in Google Earth what targets can be. And this is the reason that just saying middle of the green doesn't work. I'm now just in Google Earth. You click on this draw feature here, excuse me, on the measure feature. And I'm going to switch to yards. I'm going to click OK. And now wherever I put this, oh my God, it's because it's interesting. It's because it's not letting me do anything whenever I'm trying to do more. Oh, wait a second. Nope, I'm just an idiot. Screen is 24 yards wide. As you can see when I come back here, it's a 220-yard par 3. 220-yard par 3 on the PGA Tour has a scoring average of 3.3. The dead center of this green is my target every single time. I would say that practice indoor with or without. I mean, it's just exercise, though. Honestly, I think that just training your golf muscles. The question is, would you say indoor practice without a simulator or launch monitor is still useful, or rather not practice at all? I mean, I wouldn't do it much, that's for darn sure, but I would do it just to stay, relatively in shape, golf fit. That SkyTrack, I mean, I know $2,000 is a lot of money, but it's not that much money. Depending on everything, what you got going on with the virus and whatnot. But honestly, also Mevo Plus right now, I walked a practice around with Bubba Watson at Bay Hill, and he had a Mevo Plus, the flight scope guy was walking around with us. The trouble with the SkyTrack is you have to put the ball in a laser that shoots a laser beam, because then it takes the camera picture. And so you can't take it outdoors. It just doesn't work outdoors at all. That Mevo Plus, indoors, it needs a lot of room. So it probably kind of more like a TrackMan does. And so it doesn't really work indoors in a house situation as well. And so I'm probably gonna need a Mevo Plus also, just because it was a really cool simulator to be able to take and get distances and whatnot outdoors. So if I look at this right here, my body lines, if I were on this tee box, my body lines and everything like that should be right in here. And then I'm going to hit a cut that should be somewhere right in here like this. And I just think that seeing this, now I'll be able to go out more prepared, even though I'm practicing hitting straight at a net and my shot pattern is always right of my center line. If I now come out here and know where my center line is, and again, I'm not saying my aim, my center line is just my body line, center line of the SkyTrack, this is where the average of my shots should finish. This green is 24 yards wide. The dead center of this green is my target every single time. If I take this and go to instead Riviera, and now we're going to look at number 10. This green right here. So now I'm just have a left click and I'm holding my mouse down to move it around. And now I have control in order to spin it. I hold the control down and I'm using the scroll wheel. And now I just scroll wheel in. And this is the one thing that's weird. You've got to kind of then get it back to where it's directly overhead. This is number 10. Obviously you can see the direction we're coming in from here. when I reopen my drawing, my measurement tool, you can see this back edge of this green right here is 8 yards wide. Go walk off 8 yards the next time you're at your home course and think about having this chip shot coming in over this bunker. But the real key, the real point of all this is, since golf is the only sport in the world that's not played on a uniform course, I can't just say middle of the green. Number 18 at St. Andrews is 52 yards wide. Number 10 at Riviera is 7 yards deep. Like, generic advice just doesn't work. But on average, if you're playing greens that are less than 23 or 4 yards wide, which is pretty average for it, once you start getting over 23 or 4 yards, that green starts getting bigger. I want you to get in Google Earth. Again, it's just a free thing you download. Another thing you can do is you can just go into Google Chrome. Same thing here, and I say bent tree. Bent Tree Country Club here in Dallas. It'll pop up with this satellite image right here. I can then scroll in, and the reason I'm not liking this as much as I used to is it's not letting you just shift the image around. So right here is number 18 at my old home course. Now I right click, measure distance. I come to the middle of this green, which, so that shows you it's about 45 yard shot that we've got coming into this green. Well, you know what? This green is also, it's 51 feet wide. It's 17 yards wide. This is a narrow green with a lake on the right and a dead bunker left that you're going to have 150 or 60 yards into. This is a hard shot. So telling you middle of the green here would not be good advice. Actually, we need to be aiming left of center here. The Texas Amateur was here in 2015, the year after Will won. And the average score on this hole for the event was like 4.4. And it's 2-iron, 9-iron. And the Texas Am is really, really good. A field of players, definitely a lot of +3 to 3 handicap type players, and they're averaging a third of a shot over par here. I mean, it's just insane how we all want to get out there and make these birdies, and even middle of the green's not good advice. Here, I'm not saying we're just trying to not make double, but the thing that's super interesting here is if I take a snippet of this, if I were to give you a target that's left center of the green, and my shot pattern there in practice with a SkyTrack was 22 yards wide, which is wider than this green. So if I gave you something that was basically my shot pattern would fit in here like this. This is my Art Kids Hub nerdy thing that I've learned how to draw a little bit better. Give yourself a few marks to work towards. Even if my target were left of the center of the green, think about it. Half the time, I'm in really good shape. About a quarter of the time, I'm not in the greatest shape ever. And over here, I've still got a chance to get up and down, but probably making bogey. But I've removed most doubles. That is just a critical component to this whole course management and strategy, is not making the silly, silly, silly mistakes. So that's how we use Google Earth in order to start looking at golf courses in advance. The main thing that we track in the Foundations app, and we've got a couple cool things here I'm going to show you in just a second. The main thing that we track in the Foundations app is these 5 things that Tiger tracked throughout his career. And they were no bogeys on par 5s, no double bogeys, no 3-putts, no bogeys per round from 150 or less, and also this no blown easy saves. But blown easy saves is a tough one because it's somewhat subjective. But Lou, because he's a wizard, again, Lou was able to just go through and track how many rounds he played, his bogeys per round on par 5s, doubles, 3-putts. But think about this. This is what Tiger Woods was worried about. Is any of this make more birdies, do some heroic stuff, do anything impressive? No. This is all don't make stupid mistakes. And trust the good stuff will accidentally be there. Guy just asked, is the SkyTrack the most accurate option I've come across without spending money? I think it's pretty darn accurate for sure for indoors. Again, it won't go outdoors. The Mevo Plus seemed really accurate outdoors, but I think it'd be pretty hard to use indoors. So It really depends on which one you're wanting to use. SkyTrack indoors, probably. Mevo Plus outdoors, probably. They're both $2,000. So Tiger in here is only worried about not making the silly mistakes because you just can't get, you just don't, even Tiger just doesn't make many birdies. You can't give away your hard-earned birdies with stupid mistakes. It's just not how it works. You can't get away with it. So this last thing I definitely want to leave you with is putting and shot patterns and shotguns. Again, this is now Aaron Wise with Jeff Smith. Nothing's going to work. With Jeff Smith, I did just quit Course Kings. I do like Jeff Smith. I do respect him. I just had a falling out with another one of the teachers on it. I'm sorry for that. It sucks, but I'm just not going to waste this coronavirus. It's going to change me for life. I'm not going to get stressed out about stupid stuff anymore. And if somebody wants to get totally political over something as serious as this virus, then I'm out. That said, I like Jeff. I think Jeff is one of the best instructors in the world. He does an amazing job. The guy gets guys hitting the ball really, really good. This is Jeff with Aaron Wise, and all we had Aaron trying to do was lag it on top of this hole from 20 feet. And as you can see, as we do this, his shot pattern was almost 6.5, 7 feet deep, and it was only 3 cups wide. And the important part of that is, going back now to the slideshow, the important part of that is if Aaron's shot pattern is 18 cups deep and only 3 cups wide, once you have a putt with any break on it whatsoever, if you hit it soft, which obviously Aaron will accidentally do, it'll start breaking sooner. If you hit it hard, it'll start breaking later. These have the identical start lines, but the shot pattern becomes huge because of your speed, not because of the line you started on, not because of your read. I think aim point is amazing. As long as you've got a read that's within a few inches of correct, and we're hitting our shotgun, it's kind of like a beehive. If you think of a beehive, if it turns, the hole's going to exit, the beehive's going to just catch a few balls that come along its way. You don't make many putts from anywhere. Controlling your speed will probably give you a much better line than even your line. And again, I'm assuming you can hit it on some semblance of a line, but most people, for the most part, hit it on a reasonable enough line based on their handicap. So yeah, a 90 shooter, it's all over the place. A 70 shooter, it's not like they haven't grown body awareness with the putter. Obviously, once you're practicing your putting, but you'll kind of just improve your start lines just by improving your overall golf athleticism. And now what people don't do is they just sit inside and practice their stroke all day. And I know that because I'm actually going to shoot way forward and then come back. Whenever I was playing professional golf, this right here is all that I did. I sat on this track, and I have this in here to show you how to practice your putting stroke while also saying this is all I did. This is how you create your stroke, and then you need to get better at your speed on your stroke. Because again, so right here, if our shot pattern has a depth, obviously not just width, this is just saying for a 20-foot putt, if your shot pattern was 4 feet deep, if you didn't leave any short, you would obviously have 4-footers coming back. You will miss. The PGA Tour make rate from 3 to 4 feet is only 87%, 88%. If you don't leave any short, you for sure will 3-putt no matter what. But the key, and this is what I think Pels missed when he did his study to say 17 inches, this right here would in theory be 17 inches. And yes, if you could control your speed to the inch, that's correct. As Aaron Wise just illustrated, you cannot control your speed to the inch, period. We have this range of possible outcomes. And so if I can get comfortable leaving 25% of my putts short, that will put the hole basically 17 inches right in that zone that Pels talked about. And it will center the vast majority, 50% of my speed curve just past the hole. This makes the hole as large as possible. The guys from Low Score Wins did a good job of, a million people have done it, but I like to give them credit since they give me a hard time. But the guys from Low Score Wins, they did a good job of illustrating capture size of the hole, meaning the further you hit it past the hole, the smaller effective size it makes the hole. And so what I've done here is make the hole as big as possible for the vast majority of the putts, and I've made my average second putt significantly shorter. That helps my make rate go up and my three putts go down. It's a really strange thing to be like, wow, you leave 25% short from 10 to 20 feet, and you will make more and you will three putt less. I'm not going to bother with this because I'm going to make this video again because I'm currently hating everything about this. That said, here's Doc Redman, and don't worry, I've got something new also coming. This isn't just the normal drill because I want to focus on indoors. But this is Doc when he asked me to caddy for him at the Quicken Loans in 2018. Doc was the U.S. Amateur Champion. Cannot play medium. I'm going to murder someone. This is not going to be a good evening for me. I had Doc basically running this drill up and down the green. And what that drill is it's a ladder drill where I want you to roll the ball. I want you to set up 4 ball marks directly in a row, and I want them 1 foot apart. Okay, this is a drill from Cameron McCormick that I modified to make it easier to do on your own, because if you're doing it with a coach, or excuse me, on your own, the prior golf ball just keeps on getting in the way, and it's a total train wreck, kind of like my current webinar is going. But what I want you to do is set up 4 balls in a row, 4 ball marks in a row, 1 foot apart, and then I want you to put 4 tees down, one at 5 foot, 10 foot, 20 foot, and 30 foot. I want you to start at 5 feet. We're putting this direction. I want you to try to roll it between the first and the second ball mark. That is a 1 foot window. Every time you're successful, I want you to ladder yourself backwards 6 inches. So if I roll it between the first and the second, yay me, I ladder backwards. Now I'm trying it from 5.5 feet. I did it again. Now I'm trying it from 6 feet. Now I'm trying it from 6.5 feet, all the way back until I get to 10 feet. Once I get to 10 feet, I want you to switch to the first and the third ball mark, so a 2 foot window. And every time you're successful, I just want you to move back 6 inches again, all the way until you get to 20 feet. And then I want you to try to ladder it between the first and the fourth ball mark, so a 3 foot window. And every time you're successful, ladder yourself backwards. So think about this. If I'm going to be able to roll it, and I'm telling you, I promise you, this will look like a trough really, really quickly, like mind-bogglingly quickly. And what I want you to realize is if the average in NCAA and D1 college golf, the average strokes to hole out for 2 strokes to hole out is 25 feet. If you can roll it within a 3 foot window every single time from 20 to 30 feet, it's going to be really hard to 3-putt. And as long as a putt every once in a while goes in, you're going to average under 2. It's actually not that hard to do. And so running this drill, start at 5 feet, first and second ball mark, work till you get to 10 feet, first and third, work till you get to 20 feet, then to the first and the fourth. But how I modify this for indoors is, this is now just me and my living room. And what's actually funny is I entered Q School last year as a 46-year-old amateur just for funsies, just to play some golf. And I had this thing in my living room for, 3 months probably, all summer and through Q School. And I got to where I could do this speed drill like you can't imagine on it. I was really, really good at it. And then humorously, as I tried it today, oh, good Lord, oh, here we go. Humorously, as I tried it today, it took me, I was absolutely terrible at it. Here I am, I've rolled a pretty good one, but see, like even at Q School, I'd be getting the first one way down here, and I was like, you know what, I'll try another one, because I had already screwed this thing up like 6 times. But what I'm trying to do here is I'm trying to roll it all the way to the end, and then the next putts I'm trying to barely roll in short of the prior putt. And so I wasn't really happy with that rendition of it, so I went and got the balls and brought them back again. So this is what I called on the Course Kings video that I made, the moonwalker, because I'm trying to work it backwards. So whereas the other ladder drill, I'm trying to roll it into a zone, this one I'm trying to slowly roll it progressively shorter. So this one I was technically trying to roll all the way to the end of the mat. I didn't do it. Well, still the next putt I'm trying to leave short of it, but as close to it as I can. This next putt, I'm going to try to get as close to this one while also leaving it short. And the reason I actually hated this drill when I first started doing it indoors is because I just kept on taking the same length stroke and then decelerating. And then that made me realize, you know what, if I hate it, I need to keep on practicing it till I'm really good at it. But imagine if I were trying to ladder around the balls the way that Cameron teaches it. The prior putt just constantly gets in the way. You can't do it with very many putts. You're walking around more than anything. And so what I'm trying to show here is, and again, like that was pretty bad. Again, the thing that I thought was really interesting about this whole exercise is during Q school, I could do this putt and I could get between right here and I would stop it right here. I could usually get 7 or 8 putts. So you're trying to like set a personal high score. How many putts can you get within a certain zone while not breaking the barrier and hitting it past the prior one? I honestly, I think that this is the best drill you can do indoors. Again, the key to all this, the whole point of this entire conversation is what can we do indoors? And so I want you to see that this drill, if you have one of these well putt mats, they're fantastic. This one I think is 25 or 6 feet long. You can roll it out and take it back up. I actually, after Q school, I took it down because it's just in the middle of my living room. And even though, yes, that is a Lego table full of, a ping pong table full of Legos for my little girls to do during the virus outbreak, I had this thing in it all last year. And the thing that I thought was funny is I took it up the day I missed it Q school, and I haven't put it down since. And shockingly, without practicing, I was just horrific at it today. I was getting frustrated. It's probably why I took too long trying to organize that video, trying to get this thing ready for this this webinar. It's not even a webinar now. Awesome. Moonwalker. Try to roll it as close to the end as you can, and then slowly roll each shot, the subsequent putt, just short of it. Another thing that I did is I would start down here, and maybe Well Putt teaches you to do this. Maybe I actually never even thought about it. Maybe it's the reason they've got these things here. I would try to roll it into this black mark, and as they slowly get closer, that little zone gets smaller. That's how I was practicing my speed going back this way. So I would roll them all the way down here, and then I would do that backwards. I'd take them all the other end, and I would do this, and I would do it for 30 minutes at night. Not too much, but I really think that is how you improve your speed control. And then you can just take that out to the golf course. Trust me, it will translate. I was wondering or concerned or whatever, and it will translate well. The next thing while you're indoors, I do think that working on your stroke with one of these yellow arcs, I think it's just yellow arc if you Google that, it's from VJ Trolio. His son lost in the semifinals of the US Amateur last year, so the guy knows how to teach. His son was a junior in high school and made it to the semifinals of the US Amateur. VJ knows what he's doing. The way I personally used this arc is I would practice the key, just like everything. I'm training my body lines, I'm training my eyes, I'm making sure that this arc is the proper amount away to where the ball is centered. And I would use this middle thing right here to square. So I'm training what square to my body and body lines feel like. And then I'm just bringing that in, and I'm now trained my eyes for what that looks like. And I can just sit here over and over again, just bringing it in. The putter, because that's 90 degrees, it is square to it for sure. I then bring it in. I know that it is now square, and I'm just hitting the putt. The way it looks from face on. The reason I do like these yellow rules, what I'm pointing out right here, is I'm looking at my right foot should be just outside of this. My left foot should be just outside of this. I've got the ball just in front of that yellow block. And now everything is dead square. I'm training the orientation of my body. And this is why I think personally so much, the giant block versus random practice debate. Block practicing these skills to death is super important. And so back to whenever I was playing professionally in my 20s, I know I had a good stroke. I definitely, in hindsight, and with understanding how important speed is, that's the key. And so I'm squaring that putter face to that block. So my stroke is good. And now if I can get on that well putt mat, and again, just practicing indoors, and I can practice my my speed, then all I'm doing is then taking those skills out to the golf course. Another thing that I think is crucial for stroke is the timing. So I've got these pillows set up and I'm trying to get them orchestrated because this flange has me a little screwy. And if you have a metronome going, you're basically just teet, 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 teet. So you're training your stroke, the cadence of your stroke. And then I would just run a few shorter ones. Obviously, I'm just making sure that it's the right length away. All right, I'm going to look over here at a couple of questions that I got asked real quick. What are the first steps to using Decade efficiently? What does a player first have to do to be using it? I mean, honestly, just start learning it. This is what's interesting is the Elite app, it's way too much. And I don't think that I realized how dense and higher level the golf IQ needs to be for the Elite version. I've kind of known it, but I've also kind of been like, whatever. And so finally this last year, I've taken the time to create, we just launched it on Valentine's Day, what we're calling Foundations. And actually, I'll just go ahead and click to it, whatever, why not? Because I was planning on it. It's so hard, man. I mean, we are trying to make a living here, but also I'm trying to be aware that people are going through some weird stuff done, right now. What we're going to do is if you go to birdiefire.com, there's a place to enter a discount code. If you enter 649 or 649, it'll give you 9 months for the price of 6. Actually, it's funny. That should be 9 for 6. Anyways, that should be 9 for 6, but it's 6 for 9. So 649 is going to give you 9 months for the price of 6. I think we're going to be indoors for basically the next 3 months. And I thought that going ahead and giving it, everybody essentially the next 3 months for free. And then the app, you got 6 months after that. I think that's what we're trying to do. So Foundations is really designed for this scratch to handicap type player on up to a 15, maybe even a 20. Like I've just never had anybody sit through my seminar and not tell me afterwards that it was a huge value. I do think that we've had too many cancellations of the Elite, but I think that that's because it's way too dense. And so it makes sense. So we've tried to create Foundations. Honestly, it was fun for me. The content that I've always made in the past, like it was designed as though I was talking to Tiger Woods. Like it is deep. But with the Foundations content, I designed it with a 7 handicap in mind. And honestly, it was so fun making it with them in mind. And I think as a result, the content came out way better than even I expected. But the key is rather than with Elite, the day one, you just get 10 hours of content. It's a ton. With Foundations, month 1 builds, with 2 hours of content. Month 2 builds with another hour and a half. Month 3, and what I'm honestly considering doing because of this virus, is taking all of that, the 6 months, and just compressing it down into 2-week releases. I do still want to space it out because I want you to get really good with the existing content before we then build and layer on top of it. Basically, the Elite, I just teach you calculus right out of the blocks, as opposed to, I wouldn't mind having the first 10 grades of information to build into calculus. Calculus isn't that hard, but it's really hard if you don't know the foundations, the fundamentals. So I do think it's pretty cool. This 6 for 9, and like I say, I'm going to complete. This has been terrible. I really do apologize to everyone sitting through this. I'm sorry. That thing really threw me off at the beginning. I am pretty annoyed with myself, but tried to recover. But anyways, what else are you doing for the last hour and 6 minutes of your life anyways? We got the guy says Elite user. It's great. What would for the Elite? Alex Miller is Elite plus 1 college golfer. You need the Elite, yes, but also within the Elite is all of the Foundations content. I would watch it all. This guy, I'd recommend the Elite for the college golf. You want to help transition to pro. What would you recommend for developing high school? Foundations for sure. That's who I built it for sure. Better, I think. That's great. I appreciate it. Can you just draw out to explain aim versus target? Again, I really do think, hold on, let me go back real quick, because I'll take these and then answer them. Hi, Scott, when you're 150 yards back in the fairway and Decade is telling you aim 6 yards left off the pin, how do you suggest effectively aim for the correct spot? I use the flagstick. That's actually what this is, and I've got it in the app somewhere. What I'm implying right here is that this is the length of a flagstick. And in this situation, actually, it's from the seminar. I want you aiming at 2 yards right of the pin, 5 yards right of the pin, which is 2 flag sticks. And so I use the length of the flag stick. They're 2.5 yards or 7 feet long here in America, 2.5 yards for the most part. Use those just for a little bit of perspective as to how far to aim away from them. Where each tip is 2% of the distance. Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, I've got a guy that talks about using fingers. I got another one, I can't remember who it was, talking about using grooves. There's just a lot of things. Just use the flag stick for perspective. I did aim point, and your speed point about control has been super game changer. It is. I mean, honestly. So when I played in Q school this year, it was funny. Like my knees hurt. I'm 46. I don't play any golf, and I entered Q school, which I know sounds stupid, but I shot 11 under for 7 rounds, and I haven't even been a member of Country Club for 2 years, and my knees hurt so much I didn't want to read putts. I just kind of, as I'd walking up, I would just see where I thought the low point was, and then I would just eyeball it like, it's pretty flat, so then there would be a 0 or a 1, or the worst slope I can imagine them putting a pin on would be 3. And then I did just do the aim point. I don't want to encroach on their territory because that's obviously John and whoever's thing. I know there's someone else I should give credit for aim point. It's aim point's thing. I do think you should learn aim point in order to gauge those slopes, and then honestly, I think you just eyeball the slopes. Green books are a total waste of time and money. I don't. Unless you have the pin in the exact spot and the putt in the exact spot, and that's all mandatory for them being worth anything. And then for them to be worth anything also, you have to be able to control your speed to the inch. You can't. Green books are totally pointless. And if you've got a player or a kid who's like, well, but they give me extra confidence, you need to tell that kid he's full of shit, because that's just him. You're just giving him an excuse. Get confident just in knowing that I have no clue of what the real break is. That's the key to confidence, is giving up control. That kid is trying to control the outcome by having a perfect read. Perfect read doesn't matter. An approximately decent read is important. A pretty good read inside of 5 feet is not bad. The aim point stuff inside of 6 feet is spot on, dead on accurate. Use that, and don't ever read a putt again to save your life, period. This webinar's fire. Thanks. I think it sucks. Appreciate it though. Maybe I'll just post it and see what happens. Off the tee for a tournament player with regards to aggression, is there a point where on off days? No. I just think it's not your day. You start overthinking it too much. It's just like Decade. If you start trying to I'm not feeling it today, or I'm totally feeling it today. Have a strategy, have a system, and stick to it. You're going to overthink it otherwise. The key, with all due respect to everyone under the age of 25, the key to this is you don't have a prefrontal cortex. You suck at making decisions because your brain's not ready for it yet. That's why you make a good soldier. I would make a terrible soldier. I'd be like, they're shooting at us out there. I'm not going to do that. And you'd be like, let's do it. You can't make good decisions, period. Have a system, use it to make decisions. Eventually, you'll just own the information and the ideas. What package do most college coaches use for players? They use Elite. The full college program is for Elite. We've got 180, I think, colleges using it right now. Mathematical decision, yes. Do I recommend Elite? Yes. And then watch the what would we recommend? High school? Sorry, I'm catching up now. It's not been that bad. I would agree with that. That bad. That's some function of not good, but not that bad. Thank you, Duncan. Would you recommend to a golf instructor who's now stuck indoors and can't do any live in-person lessons? Man, I don't, again, I'm not by design, I do not teach the mechanics. I am an amateur golfer teaching course management. It's why guys like, Mark Blackburn and Scott Hamilton, and we'll see if Jeff Smith does or not. It's why guys like that use Decade to teach it to their players, because it's a really effective way. I don't think you have to have been a good player to teach the swing. I don't understand how I understand how to throw a baseball. Could I teach a pitcher to pitch? No. I do think that in order to be able to teach golf well, you do need to be able to play well. And the only way to play well is to know how to play at least some form or fashion. And honestly, I'll tell you, one of the best college coaches in the country, 7 years ago when we first started working together, 6 years ago, he was like, I definitely play way too aggressive. This isn't what I do or what I teach, and I don't feel like we've had the results that we probably should have. And that's, potentially coaching. Hi, Scott. I only just in because there's 100. Yes, I'm going to be recording it. Sorry, Alf. I don't know what the hell happened. Yep. So what is the Decade system? I'll send that out. Don't worry. OB, see, this is where this is so interesting, because in Europe, you're going to get stuff like that. You just don't get that in America. you need to find your golf ball. And so you've got to respect OB and water hazards, and OB more than water hazards. But that's all too in depth for what I'm trying to accomplish here. Off days, one more question. Stats I tracked this year was birdie conversion for 20 feet. I don't care at all. Oh, what's their birdie conversion rate? I have no idea. I don't care about make rates. Just remove hoping to make them or expecting to make them. Like, hit your putt, trust that the hole's going to get in the way of some. Practice your line some, practice your speed a ton, and trust that putts will accidentally start going in. I promise you. Thoughts on mini tour players and money qualifiers? Nothing changes. Thoughts on your strategy when you need a 5 to 7 under round? You're probably not going to do it. I hate saying it. Bo Hostler, he was not doing well right out of the blocks when he turned pro out of college. I went and walked a couple holes of a practice round with Kramer, Hickok, and Spieth and Bo. Didn't talk to anyone else, just talked with Kramer a little bit. And Kramer called me after the round. He was like, "Hey, Bo was wondering if he could have your number. Can I give it to him?" And I'm like, "Sure." Bo calls me. He's like, "I don't know what I'm doing wrong." He's like, "I don't feel like I'm playing that bad. And not only am I not like contending, he's like, I'm not even really making cuts. Like, I don't know what's going on." And we had like an introductory idea of just shot patterns and targets. He's like, "Just be aware." And he called me on Friday after missing the cut. He's like, "Dude, I see it." He's like, "I am definitely playing too aggressive." He came out to my golf course on Saturday morning since he'd missed the cut, came out to Benttree here in Dallas. We went through the full 4 hours with him and his caddy and went through the whole deal. And on Sunday, he's driving to the Monday qualifier in Wichita. And he calls me like, "I never really thought about Monday qualifiers. Does anything change when you have to go low?" Like, yeah, you've probably got about a 20% chance of doing it. By definition, you've got a bell curve of scores. You're the kind of guy that should do that 20, 25% of the time. And so cross your fingers. You can't go force it. Period. So hope it works out. I think he shot 65. He Monday qualified in. He wound up finishing second in that event to Aaron Wise, who won. And it was just hilarious. Here's a guy that the week before is freaking out. "I'm not playing that bad." You're probably not. The next week, Monday's in, finishes second, winds up getting his PGA Tour card from there. He's struggled. He's not hitting the ball very well since his injury in college. But here's a dude that's right. You're not playing that bad, man. And so Monday qualifiers, they're just hard. It kind of is what it is. You can't go force the Hooters Tour. Got to shoot 22 under. By definition, you're going to have a lot of wedges or less, which you are by decade will have you getting aggressive on those situations. The courses are usually softer. You get a little bit more aggressive there. You have reachable par fives. Those three things, you will have a ton of looks. And then you will win every once in a while. And you're going to grind out a ton of top 20s, and you're not going to be out there trying to force 63 in every single round. You can't try to force 63. You just try to shoot 68 or 9. Know that sometimes you're going to shoot 64 or 5. If a few more putts go in, the ball finishes on the whole side of your shot pattern a little more, it'll just work out. And you'll also just grind out a whole bunch of solid finishes. How would I suggest working on speed? I would watch. I assume you just got to log in. I will publish this video. Don't worry. Can you speak about the 8-foot putt and hole getting in the way? Yeah, I mean, an 8-foot putt. It really is just funny how silly this sounds. But an 8-foot putt, if this is a hole, oops, that's not what I wanted. If this is a cup that's 8 feet, or excuse me, that's 4 1/4 inches wide. If I took a tee and put it outside of the hole, 2.5 inches to this side, and 2.5 inches on this side, and then remove the hole and said, roll it between those two tees. It's not very difficult to do. And if you think about it, the hole occupies 50% of this space. It's actually going to be even normally distributed. It's actually going to be even more centered over the middle of it than you would ever think. This is why putting, the make rate, and the reason we're using 50% is the make rate on the PGA Tour from 8 feet is 50-50. If I can roll it through an 8-inch wide gate and the hole is 4 1/4 inches wide, I guarantee you're going to hit this hole half the time. The key to making the right amount of putts is keeping the hole the right size, keeping it as big as possible, while from inside 10 feet, not leaving any short. You don't leave any short from inside 10 feet for sure, but you also don't be blowing them 5 feet by. Question about driving. What do you do when you've got trees that mean you can't hit your preferred shape in a 60-yard window? Then you drop back to another club. So you can't access half it by hitting a fade, draw, or switch to a shorter club. You never try to draw, never try to hit your driver 2 ways. And this was honestly one thing that was amazing. Yes, Brandon, I'm going to email this video. One thing that was amazing with walking those 9 holes with Bubba at Bay Hill, I planned on shutting up about all things shape. Because Bubba, we all know, he does all kinds of crazy stuff. I wasn't going to say a word to that dude. Well, we get up there on number 10 at Bay Hill, our first hole, and I'm just like, and he goes, all right, what do I do here? I'm like, you tell me what you do here. He's like, I start it right at the houses and cut it back 60 yards. The hole's a dog leg right. He starts it over here and cuts it back. I'm like, really? I thought you would sling a draw on this one. He's like, I don't ever draw the driver. It's cutting. It's just a matter of how much. And I was like, oh my God, that makes sense. I thought you worked it all over the place, and you have been my anomaly, the thorn in my side forever. Bubba's a really good driver, and he doesn't do that. And I'm like, yeah, I know, and I really can't explain it. He does do it. Now, he works the irons. I always do say, I don't want you working the irons much, but I know you're going to work them some. I think it should be 80%, 75% your dominant way, 20% the other way, just to throw a number on it, which is about as we're walking 9 holes, he said he does. So even Bubba does that. As a club golfer, if you're an 8, I don't know what the question was, which version is right for you is the only thing I can imagine. So I would say the foundations. Wonder if shot pattern not being dispersed evenly, meaning length versus left versus right. It does actually, it does take it into account. And it's too deep of a question. Par 5, laying up for a number versus going for it, send it. If you're not taking on too much hazards, get it as close to the hole as you possibly can, for sure. You can email this video. I am, sorry, 11-year-old starting to take golf serious, core foundation, the decade system. I would start with the Foundations app. I mean, I know $99 is money. That's why we're trying to offer the 6 for 9 months for the price of 6. There's just so much. Again, there's 10 hours of content in the Foundations app that's just me kind of going through how a professional golfer thinks. I mean, I didn't make it on the PGA Tour, but I won 10 times professionally around the world. I qualified for got through Q school as a 35-year-old amateur. I teach many of the best players in the world. It's all in there. No. Jeff, this is a huge question. As a club golfer, if I just want to win and don't care where I finish, if it does not make sense, no, it does not make sense to be more aggressive. It's a really, really difficult thing to get through your mind. I guarantee you, being too aggressive leads to too many stupid bogeys. 100%, dude. You can't make enough birdies to offset stupid bogeys. It's just not how it works. And so you just got to play good. If you're good, you've got a 20% chance of winning or whatever that number is. But even Tiger Woods didn't try to force things when he was light years better than everyone on the PGA Tour. He just took the spots where they showed themselves, tried to not give them back with those Tiger 5, and no, 100% not. Yep, aim point. Bubba's our spirit animal. Mine too. I'm not, because I've got another webinar I'm doing with a kid at 4. I'm going to remake this. I promise. This has been disappointing. How to aim when they're all trees in the way. The left part of shot pattern might be a double cross, whereas stock shots a fade. How much cushion line to make sure you don't clip the trees? It's just learning your shot pattern. I don't know what else to tell you. Can you talk a little more about body lines? Yeah, I'll go back to that because I do. That was really the point of the whole webinar until I even distracted myself. Here's my mat, here's my shot pattern. My body lines, if I had taken a picture straight down, which I will when I remake this, everything about me is parallel rather, to this ruler. So I am square to here. In theory, I'll never hit a shot left of here. I'm going to hit anywhere from a hot pull right here to a flare right here. My shot pattern will, as a result, look like this right here. It's actually funny because that's kind of what I was hoping it would look like. That's basically exactly what my shot pattern looks like. So my body lines, for me, again, this is where it's critical. For me, I am then, when I get out on the golf course, my body lines are, as I was explaining back at Bent Tree, or just even on, we'll go to number 9 here at Riviera. This is number 9 in this corner right here. If the pin were in the front left, where you see this little shadow right here, if that were the pin, my body lines would, and club face, everything would be pointed right here from 170 yards. Everything would be right here. My hot pull would be right here, the left side of my shot pattern. The slight double cross would be right here. My perfect shot would be right here. My flare would be right here. So my shot pattern, if I drew it in, again, like this is my target. This is what's hard for people to understand. People would think this is where I'm aiming. This is not where I'm aiming. If I hit 1,000,000 shots, they will center right there. This is my target. These are my body lines that create that. But if you think about it, Tom Lehman stood wide open and hit a dumpy draw. Fred Couple stood wide open and hit a block cut. Their body lines would look similar, but they would hit totally different shapes to get the ball to the same place, period. No, Jordan, you need to, I don't know, renew or something. I have no idea. Send me an email. Scott@playinglesson.com. Send me an email. I'll figure that out. Do I think there's different shot patterns for different ball flights? Can we use this on course to benefit from certain pin positions? No, because I think that your shot pattern just gets bigger. It doesn't matter. So a cut has a long left shot for a right-handed player. A cut, as you just saw with me, has a long left to a short right. Long left to a short right. And my draw still has a long left to a short right. It's because you square the face to path a little bit more is why the ball gets in the left side of your shot pattern. Or if you leave the face open to path a little bit more than you planned on, you hit the flare. It doesn't matter if I'm trying to hit a draw or a fade. Shot patterns will be the same. Don't overthink that. All right. I do have another webinar to go do at 4 o'clock. I really am sorry. I'm really annoyed. Again, I think it was probably good information, whatever, but that was pretty disappointing because I was pretty excited. We had 700 people sign up. Anywho, I'm going to remake this. I'll still post this anyways, and I'll send you guys something. Thank you. I appreciate it. Stopping the share. Stopping the record.